4 of the League of Europe Porsche Cup Championship. Unfortunately, Pat Parga, which seems to be a common occurrence, is stuck in the pits again. Really unfortunate for him. There will not be a restart this week. We'll do everything we can to get him out on grid for the next race. But for the moment, Palmer leads in this wet session at Spielberg in Austria. In practice, I think Nico is actually the quickest, which was a surprise. He hasn't been one of the top, hasn't been one of the top guys this season so far, but he could throw a spanner in the works here in the wet. At the moment, he's 5th. Parga obviously venting his frustrations as there we go. Campbell went quickest momentarily, but now Palmer back up into provisional pole position. ART Whiteout is in 3rd, and he's just spun out the last corner along with his teammate Kyle. So bit of symmetry there between the two ART drivers. Nico comes across the line. Is he going to go any quicker? Yes, he does. He goes provisional pole. So Nico, really one to look out for here, was the quickest in practice by about 0.8 of a second. So this is his best chance of the season so far, I think, to get a win or a podium, or well, to improve on his results he's had so far. He's been sort of around 6th or 7th so far, most races. Always shown glimmers, but hasn't been able to capitalise on other drivers' mistakes as he goes purple again. So, yeah, like I said, this guy, Nico, will be a real one to look out for. Fun anywhere. Good to see him on the grid this time. He's currently in 10th, 2 seconds off the top. The top 5 only separated by about half a second, which in the wet is a small deficit compared to in the dry, because one mistake will cost you a lot more time in the wet than it does in the dry, of course. But at the moment, Nico leading the field. Is he going to continue to improve on this lap? He's behind Ties in 6th, who I finally realised how to pronounce his name, and he's still fastest by 1/10 and a half. So we'll ride on board with him for the rest of this lap. Only 7.5 minutes remaining in qualifying. They'll get a few more laps in. There won't be a dire need to change tyres, to be honest. They might want to do one right at the end, but they'll be able to keep improving, and then just for security throw on a fresh set for the final lap, as that's what Ties is coming in for a pit stop. Nico runs wide at the final corner. That could be an invalidation for him there. Is he going to get a penalty as he comes across the line? Doesn't look like it. Oh, he does. He does get a penalty, I believe, as that would have added a half a second penalty onto his time. So unfortunate for him, but he still holds provisional pole. Let's move on to Palmer. He's halfway through his lap. He's on an out lap. He's pitted. Campbell's on an out lap as well, and the ART drivers have gone into the pits. Morgan, I believe he shares my name. He's new to this championship, I believe anyway. That I could be wrong. He may have just missed the first few rounds, but he's here this week. Only 0.8 off pole position so far, so a strong showing from him at the moment. Stan, of course, our recently promoted Division 2 driver, doing well for himself up in 8th. J. Cole up in 9th. Fun Anywhere down in 10th. Noble in 11th. Wildest Monster in 12th. And V5 is rounding out the back of the grid in 13th at the moment. Only 13 drives today out of a possible 15. We're missing a couple. One, of course, will be Parga, so we're only really missing one driver. Parga, unfortunately, like I said earlier, stuck in the pits once again. But we'll follow Nico. Is he going to make an improvement on this lap, or is this an in-lap for him? I believe it will probably be an in-lap, put some fresh tyres on. Although I wouldn't, like I say, his tyres are pretty safe at the moment, so it won't be necessary until the final lap. Palmer's about to start his lap now, so let's ride on board with him on his next flying lap. We'll be really wanting. These top 3 guys are really on the pace this weekend, sorry. So they definitely want to capitalise on that. So coming up to turn 1. Obviously, normally you'd brake really late for this corner, but here you have to brake way before the 100-metre board in the rain. Not running out anywhere near as wide as you would in the dry. Just don't want to lose the back end on those curves as Nico's coming to the pits. So coming up to this corner now, again another uphill corner. So normally you'd be braking extremely late, but probably about 150. Yeah, braking at the 150 board. He's a tenth and a half down on his time, so maybe he did want to go a bit wider at that first corner. So now this will be a really this is a really tricky corner in the wet, I can tell you that. It's of course downhill, off camber, which is tricky enough in the dry, and it just makes it 10 times harder in the wet. And then you've got to really be careful on exit, because as soon as you put the throttle down, the car just wants to wrench itself away from you. As I'm just going to get upstream. So he's still 3.5 tenths down, so that could be, that's his lap over really, unless he makes a massive improvement in the final few corners. Right on board with Campbell, let's see if he's improving. I of course missed him going over the line, going over the sector line, so we will not be able to see if he's improving until of course he crosses the finish line. So coming at the final corner now, another really tricky corner in the wet. Don't want to run wide. As Nico showed, you'll get a penalty on the final corner. So Campbell does improve, but he does not move positions. He's a tenth behind Nico and half tenth behind Palmer. The top three separated by only a tenth of a second in the wet is very impressive. It just shows how competitive this league is at the moment. So Nico's just finishing his out lap, so we'll come back to him in a moment to see if he's improving. Whiteout pulling over to let Wireless Monk through. Kyle is coming up to the final corner now. Will he make an improvement on his best, which is currently a 47 dead? Only half a second off pole at the moment. Will he make an improvement? It looks like he will. He does, by only a tenth of a second though, so he's moved up ahead of his teammate ART Whiteout, but only one position up and currently in fourth and still half a second behind Nico, who, well, I've just missed him going across the first sector line, so we can't see if he's improving so far, as he's run wide at turn 3, and that will cost him all the way down to turn 4. Hopefully it won't cost him too much though. Still, well, it's definitely recoverable, all that time he would have lost. Riding on board now into this really tricky corner. Just being so, you've got to be so patient. As soon as you rush it, you'll spear off into the grass on one side or the gravel on the other. As he really loses the back end there, coming up to the next corner. Being nice and smooth as he can, but also as fast as he can. Is he going to make an improvement on this lap so far? No, he's not. 9/10 of a second off his fastest lap. Palmer is about to come across the line. Is he going to make an improvement? The SLM driver coming across the line now. He does not. So, have the drivers hit their ceiling in terms of, well, no, he hasn't. Campbell's just gone fastest by a tenth of a second. Great lap from him there, a 1:46.3. That's the fastest lap of the day, including practice, I believe. So Campbell now in provisional pole. As I say that, Chais goes into provisional pole by less than a tenth of a second ahead of Nico, ahead of Campbell, sorry. Stan sets the time going 5th. He's set time of 1:46.6. So really close at the top end of the grid at the moment. Only a minute and a half left, so this will be the last lap for many of our drivers. The max they'll get is 2 now, depending on when they cross the line. Ty's currently in provisional pole. We'll have time. He should have time to set another lap after this one, because he did look like he went wide at turn 1 and lost quite a bit of time. Whiteout moves up to 3rd ahead of Nico, so Nico dropping down the order now. He's going to need to make an improvement if he wants to regain that pole position that he probably was expecting by this point. He's been the quickest that I've seen this evening, but I mean, being only a tenth and a half off and in 4th position is quite something, but he'll really want to be right up there and get his first win or podium, I believe, of the season. So we're riding with him across the line. Is he going to make an improvement? He comes across the line. He's a tenth down, so he could make it all up in the last few corners. Let's bring back the information. Yeah. So Palmer moves up into pole position now with a 45.9. That's a really quick lap. He's only got, he's of course he's going to have one more lap after this. Is Nico going to improve on this lap? He runs wide at the penultimate corner, coming into the final corner now, clipping the apex. Ooh, squirreling out on apex, running slightly wide again. Is he going to make an improvement? He gets a 1.5 second penalty, and that's his qualifying session over. Because this lap, I believe, will now be invalidated as he got a penalty on the final corner. So Nico, yep, Nico reduced to 5th at the maximum at the moment. Palmer now in pole by 2.5 tenths of a second. Chai's in 2nd. And Campbell in 3rd. Whiteout just behind in 4th. And Nico, such a shame for him. Only, well, if he'd improved on the lap, I'm sure he'd be right in the running for pole position. Whiteout sets qualifying time. He goes 2nd. So that's his qualifying over. He got a maximum of 2nd position. Palmer's pole is still safe for now. V5 does not break into the top 8 positions. Right on board with Chais now. Is he's slowed down. He's not going to improve either. Nico, of course, in 5th with that penalty. Kyle is down in 7th at the moment. Is he going to improve? The one now really to look out for is Kyle and Campbell. As Kyle really loses it at the final corner, is he going to make an improvement on this lap? No, he's not. I haven't even realised the time. 2.5 minutes, so no improvement for Kyle there. Campbell in 4th. I haven't seen if he's improving on this lap. Let's ride on board as he goes across, well, as he enters the final sector and crosses the line. Penultimate corner now before the final corner, of course. Will he take another pole position, or will it be Palmer's day? Really close to losing the back end there on exit. Is he going to improve? It doesn't look like it. No, he doesn't. So that is our qualifying order. Palmer in 1st, Whiteout 2nd, Chais 3rd, 4th Campbell, 5th Nico, 6th Stan, 7th Kyle, 8th Fun Anywhere, 9th Morgan, 10th V5, 11th J. Cole, 12th Noble, and 13th is the Wildest Monk. So a great qualifying session there, especially for Palmer. Pole position by 2.5 tenths, can't really ask for more than that. He's now going to have to see if he can defend that lead going into turn 1 and maybe hold it throughout the rest of the race. So of course there's your final qualifying order as we head into this 40-minute race in the wet at the Red Bull Ring. So Palmer on pole position. It'll be really interesting to see here who gets a good start. We'll ride off board for the start. So looking back down the grid, as I can't change my camera settings as is usual with the buggy game that is GT Sport, and it's lights out and away we go. Palmer looks like a decent start, and Chais does as well. Whiteout has to defend to the inside as Chais has already passed him before the first corner. Campbell has dropped down to 5th, and Nico, people are going wide behind him. Let's have a look there. Oh, the contact between the two Whiteout between the two ART teammates. Has to turn my volume down another bit because roaring past my headphones. So Whiteout down from 2nd on the grid is down in 7th position. So he'll really be wanting to make up those positions. Let's see if we can get a replay of what happened there. Oh, he goes out wide, spins, rejoins and hits his teammate. Has he got damage? That will be the interesting thing to see now. Did he get damage from that contact? I can't see because the game is glitched. Of course it is. So Palmer now extending his lead to 1.8 seconds. Nico's done extremely well and got himself up to 2nd position. Let's rewind with him. He's obviously got Chais after the aftermath at turn 1. So a great start for Nico there from 5th up to 2nd position. Campbell's dropped down as well. What happened to him? Campbell is down in last position. I completely missed what happened to him. He must have been caught up in the turn 1 incident as well. Yeah, he's been down there for a while. So Campbell in last position, the championship leader. This may see a change in the championship lead, as I'm just going to exit quickly to try and fix these settings. Yep, perfect. I can actually see all the data I need again. So Palmer in first, Nico reeling him in slightly, 1.5 seconds is the gap. Chai's in third, J. Cole in fourth, Fun Anywhere in fifth, Kyle just behind him in sixth, and Wireless Monk just behind him in seventh. As we go, as it looks like the two Whiteout is going side by side or backed out of it with Morgan. Is he going to look for a dive up the inside? No, he thinks better of it. Noble just behind them. He's right on board with Whiteout. He's going to have the slipstream here, but they're also both going to get the slipstream on the Wireless Monk, who looks to have got a poor exit out of turn one, going through the fast sweeping turn two before the really tight turn three. Have a check on the lead battle. Nico still 1.5 seconds behind Palmer, so he'll want to be closing that gap as quickly as he can. But Kyle has just got past Fun Anywhere. They're side by side going in to turn four. Fun Anywhere will have the inside line, goes down the inside. Kyle looking for the switchback, I presume. No, he tries to hang it around the outside. Are they going to fit side by side through there? No, Kyle has to back out. Wireless Monk down in seventh behind him, so Fun Anywhere up into fifth position. Nico dropping back slightly from Palmer now, so Palmer will really be pushing to extend his lead, and I think if he wins this race he may take the lead of the championship if of course Campbell does not improve from his current position. He just got into 12th. As Whiteout says, what is the point? What's happened there? Where's he dropped down to? He has dropped down to last position. And I've just missed what's happened with him. I assume it was contact with someone around him. Was he voicing his complaints there? So we now got two of the quickest drivers in the field down at the bottom of the field. How many more times can I say field? So Palmer, currently the man to beat. Chais is catching up to Nico. J. Cole currently in fourth. Kyle trying to reduce that gap between them in fifth. Fun Anywhere in sixth. Wireless Monk in seventh. Morgan in eighth. Noble in ninth. V5 in 10th. Stan in 11th. Campbell in 12th. And Whiteout in 13th position. So we'll have a good battle between these two guys hopefully now. As Palmer is maintaining a gap of around 1.5 to 2 seconds between him and Nico for the time being. Chais has dropped back slightly again from Nico. It's going to be a real fluctuation of the gaps between these drivers, with it being so easy to make a mistake in the wet. And the tiniest thing that would cost you a tenth in the dry probably cost you about half a second at least in the wet. So the two teammates, the two Indian drivers we have on the grid, Fun Anywhere and the Wildest Monk, separated by less than 2 tenths as Fun Anywhere makes a mistake and Monk looks around the outside. Monk makes a mistake, sorry, and Fun Anywhere looks down the outside, but he cannot get that move done right there. And that has allowed Morgan to really catch up to the back of these guys. Let's ride on board as he sees he's in the spray of the two Indian drivers. Not really where he wants to be. He wants to be pushing his way up the field now. So, 5 minutes gone in this race. We're on board with Morgan, behind the two Indian drivers of Wildest Monk and Fun Anywhere. Let's check on the leaders. The gap is now 1.1 seconds. Nico really pushing to catch up with Palmer now. He's pulled away a bit of a gap to Chais behind him. Kyle is in fourth, J. Cole in fifth, just behind him. So Kyle has just got past J. Cole. Can we see that on a replay? Will we finally get a replay that's in time? No, we don't. Of course we don't. We seem to be constantly missing the action here. So Nico is now in the slipstream of Palmer, which in the wet will still have a pretty big effect, especially on GT Sport. That 1.2 second suck zone, as it's fondly referred to as, the 1.2 second slipstream. As Palmer's run wide slightly in turn 4, that will give Nico a real good chance of catching up. The gap is now 8 tenths of a second. So we have a battle for the lead on our hands as Nico nearly loses the back end going in to turn 6. So only a second separates them now. Chai's dropping back quite a bit now, which will fall nicely into the hands of Kyle, who's still 5.5 seconds behind after Kyle turns one. And it looks like J. Cole has run wide, but luckily does not go off. as it looks like I can get Wildest Monk has dropped down to last position. So obviously a spin or something for him, maybe a collision with his teammate there. But this is what we are looking at right now. Nico he's less than a second behind Palmer. As I say that, the gap goes to about a second and a tenth. Nico really, as I said earlier, I think he is the man to beat. Had a poor qualifying, but I really think he's one of the fastest today, as he's proving right now by extending that gap to tyres and really pressuring Palmer. Palmer's really got to push now to maintain that gap of over 1.2 seconds to try and avoid being reeled in the slipstream by Nico. So just took a little water break there and we're back. So Nico still about a second behind Palmer, the SLM Straight Line Motorsports driver. Kyle has to defend from J. Cole now. He's got past him. He's not really catching up to Chides in front of him. Fun anywhere. Doing well in 6th. Morgan just behind him in 7th. Noble in 8th. Stan in 9th. Campbell right on the back of them. No, he's not. Stan is right on the back of Noble. As he looks up the inside of turn 6, he's going to have the inside line for the next corner as well. Will he make it stick? He does. He makes his way past Noble up into 8th position. So that's a good couple of points at the moment gained for him there. As he loses it, it's so squirrely in these cars. Of course, being rear engine, rear wheel drive, oversteer is a problem without the rain, let alone in the rain. Campbell back into the points positions, really wanting to push his way back up the field after the incident at the beginning of the race. Palmer now has got his gap to 3.5 seconds now, so there's obviously been a mistake from Nico somewhere. Yes, he's got a penalty. Nico got a penalty for exceeding track limits, and he's dropped way back from Palmer, and now Palmer has a little bit of breathing space. So 10 minutes gone now in this race. Morgan is right on the back of Fun Anywhere. He has to defend into turn 3. Morgan's going to get a good exit out of this corner now as Fun Anywhere loses the back end slightly. Let's ride on board. He's going to have the slipstream. Is he going to be able to make a move? Of course, making late moves are really difficult in the wet, as the braking points are so much longer than normal. Fun Anywhere taking a decent line through that corner, just what he needs to do, taking the defensive line, but not running too deep, clips the apex nicely. Morgan just behind him in 7th, and Stan, this will be allowing Stan to catch up to him. He's got a bit of clear air after getting past Noble. Campbell right on the back of him, and Noble really losing the back end round turn 6 now. He's really struggling to maintain, will keep the car in a straight line basically, as Campbell is now 21 seconds behind the leader, so a win seems really off the cards at this point unless he gets incredibly lucky. So Campbell makes a move up the inside into the penultimate corner. Can he make that move stick? Yes, he does, but nobody's going to look for the switchback on the inside line for the next corner. He thinks better of it, and that's allowed Whiteout to join right onto the back of Noble. Noble is really struggling on exit. Maybe needs to increase his traction control slightly. He's really losing the back end a lot now. He's losing time on every corner exit pretty much. So Whiteout and Campbell now both back into the points positions, as Nico has caught up a second to Campbell now, to Palmer, sorry. So we may still have a race on our hands here. As I said, I believe Nico to be the fastest today, but he's made a few mistakes that have cost him, like that penalty and that mistake in qualifying that gave him a big penalty. By running wide, so he's exceeding track limits, which has cost him twice now this evening. Morgan still right on the back of Fun Anywhere in this battle for 6th position, and that has allowed Stan really to catch up to the back of them. So Stan in 8th position, he's done a really good job to get up from a pretty low starting point, and probably was caught up in that instant at turn 1. Is Morgan looking to the inside? No, he didn't in the end. Thought better of it. Stan following them through the final couple of corners. Will there be a move into turn 1? We've got to say, Morgan is incredibly close to the back of Fun now. He's being really held up. He's 1.3 seconds off his best. Fun Anyway taking the defensive line. This is going to give Morgan the switch back. As no, oh, there's been contact there. Oh, that was some late braking. That's promoted Morgan up into 6th, but Stan obviously making a mistake there, making a really late move, and that has moved Fun Anywhere down to 11th and Stan into 13th. Back of the grid, 37 seconds behind the leader now. Let's have a look at that replay, as I've just pressed the wrong bloody button. Brilliant. I had the replay all lined up and I pressed the wrong button. Great. Well done, Morgan. Excellent job from myself there. Anyway, we saw what happened, luckily, from B. Morgan's perspective. Nico, the gap now between 1st and 2nd is 1.8 seconds. Chise is in 3rd, Kyle in 4th. J. Cole dropped back a bit from Kyle, down in 5th. Morgan now wants to be pushing on and catching up to the rest of the field. Campbell made his way back up to 7th position after being dead last at the start, so a great recovery so far from him. I think he probably could get... I'm predicting he'll get 5th in this race. That's my prediction now. He'll make his way back up to 5th by saving fuel and tyres and making gains in the pit stops. I don't think a podium is on for him by any stretch of the imagination at this point. So Palmer now, he's falling into the clutches slightly of Nico. He has got the fastest lap, so he's obviously got pace. And his tyres are in a much better condition than Nico, so maybe he is just a fuel and tyre saving. Let's have a look at the fuel as well. He's got slightly more fuel, so he's obviously been doing some fuel and tyre saving, and Nico has really had to push to catch back up to him. So that will have cost Nico some fuel and tyre wear in the long run. Whiteout now in 8th, only 2.5 seconds behind Campbell. But the QVR driver seems to have the measure of him for the moment. So Campbell is closing up to the back of Morgan now. I believe they will be in a party, as they are QVR teammates. I'm not sure if Morgan is actually a QVR driver. I believe he is. Of course, he's in a QVR liveried car. So I don't know if they will be in a party or not. I'd assume they would. So there may be some team orders going on to let Campbell through, who of course is fighting for the championship and wants to make up as many positions as he can after what was a chaotic first corner. So Nico has, Kyle has really started to reel in Chise now. He's only 4.5 seconds. He's caught up a few seconds once he's got once he's had to stop defend. Once he has allowed himself to stop defending from J. Cole. Once he's got a suitable gap behind him, he's able to focus on the car in front, and that is of course Chise, and he's caught up about 4 seconds in the last few laps. So really pushing it now. Chise maybe saving fuel and tyres. No, doesn't look like it. So currently Kyle on for a podium position if he can continue this rate of continue to reel Chise in at this rate. So the gap now only 1.5 seconds between Palmer and Nico. Nico of course poor qualifying, but he made his way through the carnage at turn 1 and has really, and then of course got a penalty which dropped him back a couple of seconds further, and now he's brought the gap back to 1.3 seconds now. So this will be an interesting fight, as we're almost at the halfway point. We may approach the pit stops now. If the drivers are careful, they won't have to refuel, but I assume they probably will. They shouldn't have to change tyres, although they might just to get that advantage. But the tyres look pretty good as we near the halfway stage, so a tyre change is probably not necessary. And if they're careful, a fuel refill or a splash and dash at all won't be necessary if they can save fuel. Does anyone... J. Cole's got quite a bit of fuel left. He's got the most out of anyone so far, along with Whiteout as well. As Monk runs into the wall there. Was that a mistake from him? Let's have a look. Comes out of turn 4. Like I've said so many times, really tricky to get the power down here. Runs wide. Then as soon as he turns back, runs into the wall. And now he falls into the clutches of V5. Who has got past him. As I say that, he's just got past Wildest Monk into the points position, so a good run from V5 so far. Let's have a look at the gap. It's now back down to 1.8 seconds as Campbell pulls into the pit lane, looking maybe for an undercut. Refuels slightly. Is he going to refuel much? No, he doesn't. Let's see what it comes down to. He has changed tyres and he has refueled. So he's taken pretty much the longest pit stop you can have. Well, apart from obviously doing a full refill, which wouldn't be really necessary for anyone. So Palmer obviously pushing now, trying to extend that gap. He's extended half a second on this lap alone. Maybe Nico's made a mistake, but he looks to be he's maintained that gap to Chai. So I don't know if he's made a mistake. As he's looking for the undercut, he pulls into the pits now. This will be interesting to see how much fuel and if he changes his tyres. If I was in that situation, I personally probably wouldn't change my tyres. As Chai comes into the pits as well. And so does Kyle. Will J. Cole come in as well? No, it looks like he's staying out. No, but he does come into the pits. Ooh, a long refuel for Nico there. He puts in quite a bit. So now, this will be interesting. Will Palmer come in the next few laps? His tyres are the best probably out of anyone so far. So as I said, he can save himself about 6 seconds by not changing his tyres, and his tyres look fine, to be honest. So yeah, if I was in his situation, I wouldn't be changing tyres. I would just do a little fuel splash. So if I was in this situation, what I'd really do is be saving fuel now, because he's 19 seconds ahead of Nico. What I would really done is just save as much fuel throughout the race and not pit at all. I don't know if there is a required stop in the wet race. There may be a required pit stop. So So, Palmer does pull into the pits. It will be interesting now to see if he changes his tyres or not. Let's have a look and see. So, comes into the pit box now. Changing tyres. And refuelling. So, it will be interesting now to see the gap between Nico and Palmer. As Nico is coming up the straight now, you can see Palmer just ahead of him. As Palmer does come out in front of Nico. He's lost a bit of time there, but that's okay. He's now got the fresher tyres. And he's maintained that gap. well, not maintained it, but he's obviously maintained his lead, even with the undercut from Nico. But it's only a 1.1 second gap now, so if Nico wants to get past it, it's going to have to be soon, as we've seen Palmer's tyre management is the best out of these top guys that we've seen. So yeah, it's now or never really for Nico, unless he can make his tyres last the distance as well. Of course they will last the distance, but can he manage them better than Palmer and have the advantage towards the end of the race, even with a lap extra? So the gap only 0.8 of a second now. Nico will be really pushing because he knows Palmer will have the tyre advantage. Who's got more fuel? It looks like Palmer refueled even more than Nico did. So Campbell now, my prediction may be coming true. He's up into 6th. Will he be able to make my prediction come true and come 5th? I think my prediction was 5th, wasn't it? Yes, my prediction was 5th. So, will Campbell be able to overtake J. Cole in the next few laps? J. Cole, they both pitted recently. It looks like Campbell pitted a lap before J. Cole, and J. Cole probably put more fuel in his car. So the gap now only 0.4 of a second as Nico looks round the outside of turn 3. Can't get that move done. This is going to be a real interesting fight now between these two. And I didn't mean to rewind there. So Nico currently the fastest around the track. He's got the fastest lap of the race so far. He's really going to be pushing to get past Palmer. As we ride on board, getting a good look at the back of that Porsche 911 RSR. Of course, paying tribute to the NHS who are working so hard in this global pandemic that's not only affecting our country. As Palmer runs wide at turn 6. He's going to get a better exit out of the corner though, it seems, but yeah, Palmer now also really pushing to the limits. He's running wide in the middle sector of both those corners. So Palmer feeling the pressure, feeling Nico breathing down his neck, but he knows he's got the fresher tyres. He's just got to stick to the game plan, really make them work, and just hope that Nico pushes too hard and eventually his tyres wear out. So J. Cole has a penalty and has to slow down, and this could promote Campbell into my prediction, which was P5, and it does. Campbell surges past J. Cole on the straight. Job done for him there. He'll now have his sights on 4th position, but that is 6.7 seconds away. But you never know. We have got about 8 laps remaining, maybe 9 in this race. So you never know, he may be able to get out maybe to a podium position if he is incredibly lucky. Currently the fastest man on the track. Nico right on the back of Palmer again going into turn 4, but no move to be made there. Still half a second behind Palmer. He'll be getting a slipstream, of course, on these long straights that Austria is renowned for, of course, being a pretty power-heavy track. Of course, it won't be, because all these drivers are in the same cars with the same amount of power, so it will be down to setup who has the best top-end speed. So only 3.5 tenths now. Will Nico make a move into turn 3? He's really catching at a rate of knots, but I don't think he'll be able to make a move unless he makes a really big dive. He thinks about it but backs out, goes for the switchback, looks to get the better exit, which he does. He's going to be less than a tenth behind him now, it seems. Less than 2 tenths, so he's right on the back of him now. He may be able to make a move into turn 4. He's going to have to go to the outside line though. Palmer really sticking to the inside, that defensive line, as it looks like he's going to try and go around the outside of turn 4, but I don't think it's going to work from there. He looks for the switchback to get a better exit up the hill, up into the middle sector. But it looks like it is not to be for Nico at this point in time. I need to take a drink there. So Nico all over the back of Palmer at the moment as Noble does a gentleman's thing and really pulls over to the left-hand side. A bit excessive, but it's better than holding someone up. Although, of course, it is the driver lapping the driver that is being lapped responsibility to get past the lappee. Does not have to jump out of the way. Only 2 tenths the gap now. Nico can smell this victory now. Only 10 minutes left in the race. We're 3/4 of the way through. 11 minutes, sorry. Almost 3/4 of the way through. And Nico's right on the back of him. Will he make a move into turn 1? It looks like he's too far back, but will he save that move for turn 2? He's really being held up, it seems, by the SLM driver. He takes a wider entry and should get a better exit. It's going to be really close, running up to turn 3 now. We'll stay on board with him. Really in the spray from Palmer now. It looks like he may be too far back unless he can make a dive. No, he's going to save it for the next corner. Palmer holds on to position for now, and he's got a pretty safe gap going into the next corner. So Palmer, it seems, safe for this lap, barring any mistakes. Campbell back up to 5th, a great recovery from him. J. Cole in 6th, V5 in 7th, Whiteout still down in 8th, hasn't been able to make the recovery that Campbell has. Morgan in 9th, Fun Anywhere in 10th, Wildest Monk in 11th, and Noble way down in 12th position, a lap down. Credit to him for continuing on. He's really struggled this race, which is quite unfortunate for him. So Palmer now exceeding the gap to 7 tenths a second as he's gone purple this lap. So maybe he was just saving some fuel, saving some tyres, and now he'll really push on with a little bit of breathing space. But now the gap's gone back down to half a second. As Palmer still just about in control of this race. 10 minutes left. About 5 or 6 laps remaining as Stan has left the room. I think he may have left already, as in he left the session and he's just been spectating. Nico runs really deep into turn 3 there. Luckily no contact between them. That would have been a bit of Code Brown moment. Had there been, well, they were extremely close to contact there. There would have been a real tongue-in-cheek moment for both the drivers there. Ty's a really solid race from him so far, up in 3rd position, one of the best positions he's been in this season. It'll be interesting to see if he can hold it on for the last few minutes. He's got a pretty commanding gap to Kyle behind him, who has a big gap to Campbell behind him. Doesn't really look like he's closing in all that much. Maybe having to save a little bit of fuel. As Whiteout has a penalty, down in 8th position, that shouldn't affect him too much. Morgan in 9th, Fun Anywhere and Wildest Monk in 10th and 11th, and Noble, of course, still down in 12th, last position. Yeah, so Palmer, as I predicted earlier, Nico, it was then or never on pace, and it seems to be the case now as Palmer has pulled out a gap of 1.5 seconds, and Nico's tyres, let's have a look, they're not awfully worse, but they're definitely worse than Palmer's. So yeah, Palmer currently controlling this race with a gap of over a second now. I really feel like Nico's missed his chance to take that victory today, but a podium at least should be secured, barring any mistakes. Touch wood, not. I don't want to give him the commentator's curse. So not much action going on at the moment. Let's cycle back down through the field again. No, all pretty big gaps between the drivers. Take a quick drink break. So Palmer really in control of the race now. Ty's in third, of course Nico in second, Kyle in fourth. Campbell's catching up a little bit to Kyle, but it looks like it's not going to be enough to catch him by the end of the race. V5 is pretty low on fuel, up in 7th position. He may have to do a splash and dash towards the end. He really doesn't have much fuel left. That's probably only, will be close. He has to do some fuel saving, I believe. Morgan has overtaken Whiteout. No, he hasn't. He's dropped way back from Whiteout. Find Anywhere is now only 1.3 seconds behind us. That's actually the closest battle we have on track at the moment. So the field all spreading out towards the end of the race, all settling down. But of course, these wet conditions really promote mistakes from the drivers. So we could see a mistake that causes a shock result towards the end of the race in the final 3 or 4 laps that we've got remaining. Got to say, really well done to Palmer for this race so far. If he can hold on to this, it will be, of course, a lights to flag finish. And pole position, fastest lap, leading every lap. That is the quadruple, basically. The hat trick, I believe. Pole position, leading every lap, fastest lap. Of course, that strategy to wait out for an extra lap has really paid off for him now. His tyres are in much better condition than Nico's. Almost a 3-second gap to Nico now, so it looks like Palmer, touch wood, has got this in the bag. Any other close battles? Yes, we have. Find Anywhere is right on the inside of B. Morgan. He looks up the inside of the next corner. Is he going to be able to get that move done? It looks like he may. He's going to have the outside line for the next part. No, he doesn't. He has to back out of it, otherwise he would have spun out into the grass. Let's ride on board with him now. So this is the closest battle we have on track at the moment. Morgan looks to be struggling a little bit. He's dropped back quite a lot. He's really in the clutches of Find Anywhere now. He's got a much better exit out of the final corner. So that should mean he retains that position for now. As they're both really catching up to Whiteout, who must have had another penalty or made a mistake at some point in the lap. As we now have a real big battle on our hands for 8th position. V5 very low on fuel, so will he be able to make it to the end without a refuel? So he looks like he's dropped back from J. Cole quite a bit, so he will be saving fuel now. Really short shifting, as you can see from the rev limiter in the middle of the bottom of the screen. So this could be interesting. He may have to pit again. He's really low on fuel. But as we go behind him, Whiteout leads from Morgan, leads from Funanywhere for the battle for 8th position. Gap now 4 seconds between Palmer and Nico. Campbell not really catching up to Kyle anymore, so it looks like the top 5 for now are pretty settled. As V5 got past J. Cole. He has. J. Cole going wide at turn 4, running onto the curb on the outside, losing all momentum. He maybe even went off onto the gravel. So that's cost him that position. He'll have to really push now to catch up to V5, who of course will be fuel saving. It'll be really tight. He'll want to really take this these next 2 laps as slow as he can without being overtaken, because yes, okay, so this should be the final lap for V5 now. That's pretty good for him. If he was a few seconds ahead, he would have had to do an extra lap on top of that. So yeah, V5 holding on for the final lap now. Nico, the rest of the drivers should do another lap. Yeah, so the top 5 will do another lap. So it's the final lap for the for 6 and below now. As Whiteout has pulled away from Funanywhere, who has got past Morgan, who's obviously made a mistake at some point. Can we catch that on replay? No, of course not. Why would we? So Morgan has dropped down into 10th now, Funanywhere in 9th, and Whiteout in 8th. So Nico really dropped back from Palmer now. Looks like the podium positions are all but decided, as Campbell has caught up about a second to Kyle. So Campbell's on low fuel as well. Campbell's going to be really low by the end of the race, but he should have 5th position secured, as the driver behind him will finish a lap before him. As J. Cole has gone wide. J. Cole's gone really wide, so he's lost a position there. Let's have a look, see if he can catch that. He's spun. He has spun off at turn 4 and has lost 7th position to Whiteout. So Cole down from, he was in 6th and he's dropped down to 8th. He's dropped 2 positions in pretty quick succession, and now Funanywhere is right on the back of him. So it may be an extra position loss for him, but these guys are on the final lap, so will he be able to make a move up into the final few corners? Only a quarter of a second separates the two. He's going to be right on the back of him, a little touch going into the final corner, and it looks like that's going to be over. So the top, the 6th and below should be decided. So 6th is V5, 7th is Whiteout, 8th is J. Cole, 9th is Funanywhere. B. Morgan will finish down in 10th. And the Wildest Monk will finish 11th. So let's ride on board for the final few sectors with what should be our race winner, SLM Palmer 080320. Really dominant performance from him today. Pulled the strategy off to perfection. Likes to flag victory. Can't really put anything, any complaints with that today. Really outclassed the other drivers in the wet. Would even go as far as to say maybe even a rain masterclass from him this evening. Nico, I believe, probably was the fastest over 1 lap, but strategy and tyre saving was just in the hands of Palmer, who comes across the line now, taking a win after, I believe, his win at Monza was removed after serving a penalty incorrectly. Palmer takes his first win of the season. Nico takes his first podium of the season. He must be happy with that, even though he didn't get the win. Chise will come down in 3rd, Kyle in 4th, and Campbell really low on fuel now. Our championship leader will come home in 5th position. Kyle crosses the line, and Campbell sliding his way out of the final corner, flashing his lights, and probably venting his frustration a little bit there by drifting across the line. So that there is your final order. Great race from all the grid today. apart from the carnage at turn 1. Great race from Palmer. Definitely deserved the win here today. Got a friend request from Ty, so I should be able to now invite the top 3 podium sitters for a podium interview. So accept Ty's as a friend, party, and let's invite the podium sitters. So Nico, Palmer, and Ties. So I've invited the top 3 to the party now for a podium interview. Let's see who joins. Is anyone going to join? I know Ty should join as he's obviously just sent me a friend request. Okay, so we have the 2 SLM drivers in. Nico hasn't quite joined the party yet, so we'll start with our 3rd place finisher, Ties. Good race from you there. How was it from your perspective?
Well, it was just consistent running without making a lot of mistakes.
I'll tell you what it was. It was that RLH decal on the back of the car.
Yeah, for sure. You ready for us now?
Definitely. So, yeah, that's how I would describe it. Really, no mistakes. Probably didn't quite have the pace of Palmer and Nico, but definitely one of the most consistent drives today. No penalties from what I could see, so you must be happy with that.
Yeah, I wasn't really focused on one of those 2 either.
So we'll move on to Palmer, our race winner, as Nico hasn't joined the party. I've got to say, really dominant performance there, like a hat trick, pole position, fastest lap, led every lap. You can't complain about that.
Yeah, I'm extremely happy. The whole race, basically the enticer, basically silent. It's such tricky conditions. Yeah, and of course very hard the second stint when Nico was right up my backside. But luckily I think he might have slid too much while behind me in that, and of course he might have lost the tyres a bit. Yeah, of course the whole race I was just braking sort of early. Because the last thing I wanted was to run wide and lose the chance to win this. Yeah, I'm very happy. Of course, Straight Line Motorsports 1-3, Tyson's first podium. Yeah, to be honest, I wasn't really thinking I was going to get pole position, especially with Nico's pace. Yeah,
Well, now of course you know the reason why.
Yeah, deep inside that, no. Yeah, well done to Nico as well. He had me on my toes pretty much the whole race. And then, of course, it was over the whole 40 minutes, I sort of found out where Nico was struggling the most. I think it was turns 6 and 7 where I was gaining a bit. And then the first sector, Nico would gain on me. Yeah, it was a really, really fun race. I'm very happy to get the, I think it's called the Grand Slam. Yeah, really, really good race.
Perfect. Well, the only thing I can say is I'm disappointed there were no comments from Sharon this race.
Well,
only thing you missed out on. So well done, guys. Well done for Straight Line Motorsport for a double podium, and of course a really dominant win from Palmer. Unfortunately, Nico has a really dominant win from Palmer. Next races, does anyone know? I should probably check before I ask, to be honest. Brands Hatch. So we'll see you back in the UK at Brands Hatch. Sure to be a good race. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you all next week for this time next Wednesday.